Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the village. We're on live, and as you can see, my
Can you hear
co-host
me? Can you hear
cannot
me? Can you
put
hear
the
me?
food away. I hear you, but you better put that food away. Thank you so much. That is so gross. It's very
And it
ghetto.
tastes good.
It's ghetto. Thank you. Put it away.
It may be ghetto. Brought to you by the King of Jerk, Utica and Glenwood. Right?
Nobody want to see you
So
eat,
I
sir.
bought I bought for the studio. Make sure the studio have it. But I have
Oh.
to give them a shout
Mm,
out. So those people,
mm.
right? The King of Jerk.
So I'll pick up mines after the show.
All right. So I'm sorry, Dr. Bryant. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. While I eat some jerk chicken from the King of
Please
Jerk,
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
don't do what? You're
Don't
gonna
do
say
that.
whatever you want, but if it's some jerk chicken eaten today, and everybody has jerk chicken except for Dr. Bryant
And Sophia?
and Sophia.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, so Sophia, I'm sorry. Dr. Bryant, no sorry. I, don't worry, I eat healthy too.
Okay, nobody want to see you eating. That's not what we want to do. That's not what we do here.
We must eat healthy.
Okay, but not on air. Thank you so much.
In all seriousness, let's get started. Um, yes, unfortunately, I will be eating some jerk chicken.
Oh my God.
Unbeknownst to Dr. Bryant. So will Andre, and so will
No, I think everybody will be
John.
waiting. It's just
So
you that have
you're
no
watching, listening,
self-control.
viewing, hearing the Village radio talk show right here on 92.1 FM. You can hear us on YouTube at our YouTube channel, The Village Radio Talk Show. You can hear us on our Facebook, on all of our social media outlet, on Roderick F. Daly, Joanne Bryant, John Sampson, Andre Dolman, and Sophia Willisey. And I'm excited to be with you this Thursday again here in May. And we have so much to talk about today. There's so many things happening. You didn't hear the song. So I want to apologize from now that we have the computer, the internet is working a little bit slowly. So we might come across some internet issues, but know that we're here. So today we're gonna have a lot of time to spend with you. There's so many things that we want to talk about. So I didn't get a chance to do a scripture. Doc, is there one that's on your mind that you want to bring up?
Sure. Give me a second.
Andre said Psalms 100, so let's look that right up.
Praise the Lord at all times. Mhm.
It's one thing. Is one thing to know it by heart. Is another thing to miss a word.
Mhm.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah. Listen to Andre has now become the pastor that he's supposed to be. That
Mhm.
he's denying. So Psalms 100 is about his steadfast love and it which endures forever. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord, he is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name, for the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. You
Mhm.
know, Andre, I'm so proud of that scripture that you just like. I know it's a very popular scripture, and a lot of people, you know,
Remember when we used to grow up, we had to memorize these scriptures.
yeah,
Psalms 123, Matthew 5, verse 9,
Mhm.
yes,
John 5, what?
John
3, verse
3:16, Ephesians 6, Exodus 20. But this scripture is very good. Just remember to always humble yourself and give thanks and give praises to God from where you are. I can't tell if you're frozen, Doctor. Oh no, you're not. Your eyes are just down. All right. So just make a joyful noise unto the Lord and keep him and in your thoughts every day. You wake up in the morning, give thanks. You know, many
Mhm.
people when they wake up, they don't give thanks because they wish they're in a different place, not realizing that today is a new day.
Mhm.
to make it a great day, right? Today's a new day to make it a great day. So you can sit around and worry about what happened yesterday and not try to make today better. Make a
Mhm.
joyful noise unto the Lord, all he land.
Mhm.
John was late today, so I'm wondering. Let's see what his reason is.
Shit,
Hey, go. Right.
Yes.
Here's your,
I bought it, by the way. All right.
all right.
Oh, man.
So,
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
all right. Make sure you wash your hand. All right. So what? The first topic I want to do this and it. I want to do this and then I'm going to rip the rip the topic apart. I have to give you some time to speak. When I say speak, I'm talking about you, the audience. But we want to start with this conversation. Maybe I should. No, you know what? Let it stay for a little bit. There are a lot of things happening this weekend. We have a couple of events that the village is will be a part of. One of them is we have the grand opening for the new Flatbush center over there. The grand opening. What is the new name for it? The Flatbush Central Market, right? It's going to be on Flatbush Avenue. Our little Juju will be on it. And you coming out. What time are we expected to be there, Dr. Bryant?
We could be there anytime.
I can't hear you.
Anytime.
Anytime is not a time. Anytime is not a time. So yeah. Anytime is not a time. All right. So we're going to be there during the day. So I think we also probably try to get there when we can. So Andre gets out at what, 3:30 for tomorrow?
Saturday.
Yeah, no,
Or Friday.
yeah, Friday. So we all. I know John is going to find a reason why he's not going to make it, but all right. But Andre will make it, and Sophia will make it. That's our jerk chicken.
How we gonna eat when we're on the
That's what Dr. Brian just said.
Exactly. It is so
It's ghetto.
It's uncool.
It is. It is.
But if you're eating,
No.
Dr. Brian, I see you something there.
What?
I see you eating
Right.
something. We're trying to
I'm
hide.
not eating nothing.
So the first conversation, for the first time in my life, I own shares, right? We own shares, not we, right? We own shares in Tesla.
And it dropped.
Yes, stocks. No, that's not what I mean. That was just something. The first time is going to come for something different. The whole market actually dipped today. That was. Yeah, but it's going to go back up. That's I was actually having this conversation. But what my first time is, the Tesla that I want costs $140,000.
What Tesla's that?
The X Tesla X. Because remember, I have a big family, so the other ones don't make room for your large family. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I'm bringing that up, and I say for the first time in my life, is that finally the price of gas is just too damn high.
Well, I just filled my gas tank on my vehicle. I paid $108. This time last year, I paid $60 something to fill my tank up. It's ridiculous.
My wife my wife is like, oh, where are you gonna spend this money? I'm like, for the first time in my life, I thought about spending more than I'm supposed to spend on a car.
What?
Get the Tesla.
No.
Yeah. Remember now, you put the plug in at your house.
You get a charging station.
You get it. No, you get it. You get it. You get a charging station. You park it at your house. Right? You never pay for gas again. John drives a truck. John and I both drive a truck as our regular vehicle. A truck gives you like 10 to 15 miles per gallon. Maybe 20 if you're on the highway. Maybe. Right? Maybe 20 if you're on the highway. So that means every month we're filling up 3 times to 4 times a month. Depends on how much driving we do.
I fill it once a year, about four times
Yeah.
for the month.
Yeah. So if my car payment is $500, $600, $700, I buy a Tesla, and my car payment bumps up to $800, $900. Am I not saving money? When you think about it. But you drive a truck too, Dr. Brian, but your truck is not as big as ours. The engine, I don't think is as big, but it still requires a large fill up. It's more than a car.
Paying $65 for. I'm like, what? $65
Right.
for gas?
And my car requires 93.
Mine is regular 87.
And regular 87, it was 108. Wow. Right.
24 gallons to fill it up.
Mine is 22 gallons. It's 17 cents difference between last week and this week. And our favorite gas station in Clarendon and Utica has now equalized their price, and it's now the same price as everywhere else.
Exactly. Last week,
You can't even get a break.
A couple of days ago, it was $4.39. I went there to just try to fill it up. Now it's $4.59.
Yeah,
A 20-cent jump
20 cents,
in a matter of a week.
right? I saw someplace today for Ultimate was $5.20, $5.39, $5.40. I don't use those 9 things because it confuse people, because it's 9/10 of a cent. So when it says $5.39, people go, "Oh, this big five." No, it's not $5.39. It's actually $5.40, right? So I'm pissed off about that. So I'm really thinking about getting a Tesla. My wife looked at me like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, you know what? $100,000. It's not a hell of a lot more than I'm paying for a car. I buy a 2021, it's 115, 120. I might do it.
You can trade in your car?
Yeah, trade it in. I have equity in it. Right? I have about $40,000 equity in the car. So I'm basically buying a car basically brand new. Right? I'm basically buying a brand new Benz. When you think about it. And if I'm saving the money, right? I have the comfort, I have a new car, and I'm saving the money.
And ladies and gentlemen of the village, this is the conversation that we are all having at the kitchen table.
Yep.
And this is one of the reasons why the Democrats are in trouble.
Tech companies are going to be killing it.
Yeah. I mean, the oil company made $9 billion last quarter, and we can't see it.
But tech companies right now, they're going, like the market itself, the market.
Can't hear you, Andre.
Right? But
I still can't hear you.
testing.
Yeah.
Right,
Now
so
we can.
the market itself is down now. Considering the conversation that you all just have right there. You're not the only one, like I said, having the conversation at the kitchen table. You're not the only one thinking
It's
of
real.
getting the electric car. I mean, just plug in and that's it.
So, I had to
shoot up. A lot of people are gonna be thinking and trying to get gas companies.
Well, it's just like solar. I mean,
yeah.
I looked at solar in the neighborhood.
The solar
when
panels
solar first came out, there was very few homes in the Canarsie area that had solar. But now every other house has solar now.
And it's not even expensive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What? My strawberries? I can't eat my strawberries either?
No, can you save that for later, please?
No, I'm eating my strawberry. I won't eat the chicken though. I will not eat the chicken. I will eat the strawberries. No chicken, but the strawberries. I'm eating fine. I'm not like I was doing with the chicken. The chicken was just because I was advertising the chicken. It wasn't because that's how I eat. It does taste good though.
That is how you eat.
How you know how I eat?
Because I actually witnessed it. So
I hear you, liar. Right. So, but in all seriousness though, how many people are out there really thinking that? It is crazy.
And a conversation that I was listening to earlier was about a possible recession. So here it is. They were mentioning that
recession, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is due. It's due. A recession is due about now.
It's dipping. The market keeps going up and down and dipping, and they're raising the interest rate and everything. People their incomes are not going up as much. So with gas prices and food prices and rent prices, everything going up, what do you think is going to happen next? They can't afford it.
Listen, it's funny. I was looking at, a retirement home because, New York is quite expensive. And
Mm.
something that cost $100,000 the other day, like $300,000. I was like, what the heck, yo? So nothing is cheap anymore. So that's what I'm telling people right now. For all those people out there, I don't want to buy a home. You better get started.
Even Florida, I know a couple of people who are looking into purchasing investment properties.
Yeah.
Things that would be 50, 60,000 is now 300,000. They're like, what? Are you kidding me? So, yeah.
100%. My parents and my wife and I will spend a lot of time. Andre, keep forgetting to bring a battery for that clock up there. Right. We looked at a house, right? It was like 11 bedrooms right down the street from where they have. My parents have this beautiful home in Conyers, right? Conyers, off
Georgia.
Yeah, off was it I-20, off the I-20. I saw the house down the street. It was going for $399, 11 bedrooms. You didn't look at it. Right now, it's $707,000, and it's less than 4 years. Less than 4 years. We didn't want to pull the trigger on it. Oh, why should? I'm like, you see an investment, you take it. Just call it a day. So I don't even know what to do right now. Your salary's not going up. I want to go back to a conversation we always had, and I love bringing this up because Dr. Bryant hates the concept of getting out student loans, right? She hates it. And I go back and say, for those of you who are thinking not to get students loan, I'm a true testament that if you use your student loans properly, because you can't get a good job anymore. Because nowadays, what happens is now the qualifications is going to become less and less, right? Why? Because a high school diploma nowadays is is mediocre at best. It's not like back in the days when somebody said they had a real true Regents diploma in New York State, right? It was a real Regents diploma. So a high school diploma, that they're pushing everybody to graduate.
Mhm.
So you need 44 credits to graduate. And it's like, students sit down, because I witnessed this. Students sit down in June and they sit down in the principal's office, in the guidance office, or they have extra money per session money and say, you need to do 10 pieces of paper. The whole year you didn't do crap. But at the end of the year, you have 10 pieces of paper, say, do 5 of them. And you pass, move on. And then they can't go to college because they don't qualify. Right? Those people shouldn't be taking out loans to go to school because they're not going to graduate and they're going to owe the money.
Why do they not qualify? Elaborate.
Because a lot of times young people feel because they get by in high school. Let's be clear. Especially inner city students, urban kids. And of course, I'm making a statement. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about every kid. Okay, so I don't want nobody chopping on my head saying I'm talking about every kid. What happens is they really have no true understanding of independent work. Like when you go to college and you have to sit down and do your own studying, you have to do your own organization. Right, you have to learn to work in a group, and you literally have to add something to the group. And you can't go to the group talking about the last episode of the Last Housewives of Los Angeles or California. You actually have to come to the group with substance because people who understand what that is, they're gonna moot you out. So what do you have? Which is the group that's number one for dropping out of college? Black males. Number 2, females. It's 1 and 2. Where do most black kids go to school? Urban areas. Bottom line. So when you come to student loan, going back to that conversation, if you're doing what you need to do in high school and you get into college the right way, take out your damn loan and go to school, because a high school diploma is almost going to be somebody called me the other day for help, right? The person was applying to become a CNA, right? A CNA, certified nursing assistant, or they have there's a new title now. the person needed a high school diploma. 20 years ago, you didn't need that. You didn't even need a GED. Now to do a minimum wage, pretty much job, you need a high school diploma. So think about the next level. And then we just talked about rent. We just talked about car payment, right? We talk about recession. How are you going to afford? And Joanne just mentioned you ain't going to get no money. So when people say don't take out loans, John, it's what did you do before and what will you do after? That's what the answer comes down to. Because right now you can't afford anything, and most of us don't have the additional cash to spend. Nobody predict. I mean, what was it? Last week gas was $40. I mean, not 40, 60. You raised by 40. That's $160 a month. When you do the math, 160 is 1,600, right? Plus 2,400, right? Just $24. You're talking about $2,000 extra. Then food prices have gone up. Rent. But your income does not equate, right? 17 cents since last week. Nobody in this room, that's about what, less than 10% is 41 cents, right? No, 10% is 23 cents. So a little bit under 10%. I mean, 43 cents. So a little bit under 4%. How many of you got a 4% raise last week?
Well, that's about how much they're trying to increase the people in the apartment complex that rent stabilized.
Yeah, but
So-
they got to pay their rent too. I mean,
I agree with that.
Which is true.
The landlords have to pay those bills. Those taxes constantly keep going up. Insurance keeps going up. So if we're going to give a reduction, let's give a holistic reduction for everybody across the board. And this is what people don't understand. Tenants do not understand until they become landlords.
And that's why some of them don't want to be tenants. I mean, they don't want to be landlords because they don't care. It's like, it's not my property. It ain't my concern. And then they don't want to move.
Well-
I want the state that I don't care. I want the state to change the law that you can get evicted in 1 month. You must show extenuating circumstances as to why, if you don't pay your month for 1 month, you don't pay May, and you didn't give me June, by June 30th you're gone, and I could move you.
Well, brother, that's not going to happen.
I know, but they do it in other states though. In other states is 1 month. In red states, in Republican states,
Because
you pay your rent.
You pay your rent, but the rent is not as astronomical as it is here in the city. It's not.
It doesn't matter. Rent is rent.
You can rent a whole house for $1,500, $2,000.
But again, John, whether the rent is $1,500, $2,000, $5,000, you agreed to the rent,
You agree to a rent, but situations that happen at times.
and that's why you.
But my
So again, let's go back to the question: is it my fault that I now cannot pay my mortgage because you're not paying your rent?
Well, it is your fault
Why?
because
How am I supposed to know that you're going to be a deadbeat?
You know what I learned is it's unfortunate we cannot depend upon tenants to help us pay our mortgage.
That's true.
That's why we always need to have a surplus. They were to talk about at least a year's surplus for situations such as this. And it's good. Strawberry is all gone, so they don't have to worry
Thank
about it.
God.
So
It looks very delicious, too.
It's a balance. Nobody really. It's just you need to see both sides of the coin. People just don't want to see. They just want to see their side. They don't want to see anybody else's.
You know what? They mentioned that some of the
I didn't say move you out the next day. I said 1 month later. You didn't pay me, and you didn't pay. Actually, it's 2 months.
If I can't pay you a man, you move me out 1 month. Where am I going to go?
I don't care.
If I can't afford, you don't care to go homeless on the streets.
That's
and you know
true.
it's gonna cost us more money.
Yeah.
So go about your
Okay,
business.
All right.
Go find somebody else.
Villagers, you see this? Villagers, you see
No, I
this?
said 2, but basically I'm giving you 2 months. What I'm talking about is like people don't pay rent for like 6 months and they sit there because they know the law is allowing them. First you got the 3 months.
You got
Remember the
professional
guy.
tenants.
Yeah.
Remember the guy who needed to pay his mortgage and he put up his sign
Yeah.
in front of the house. They haven't paid rent in like
Shame on you,
5
something like that.
months.
Yeah.
right, and they probably could have paid. Like there's so many people even during this pandemic who could have paid rent
because they got money
But
and they
yeah,
didn't use it. They use it.
and all
They
that
found,
money
you
and
know,
everything. So,
like one thing I tell my kids, and I'm sure you know a lot of parents. The first thing I tell people is make sure you have a shelter over a roof over your head,
Mhm.
because anything else that's happening, you can go home. Even if you're in the dark, nobody will know unless you invite them in. So the first thing that you need to secure of any bills you need to pay is where you live. I think can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think
Yeah,
it's my,
we can hear
my
you.
headset somewhere.
Mm.
Right. So to me,
You should put it
That-
on your ears and not your cheeks.
no. It was working before. I think like just check one of the cords. No, I'm saying you can hear me. I can't hear. But yeah, there it is. So at the end of the day, we start with that. Stop trying to, and the other thing is stop trying to live downtown Brooklyn. I don't know why people do that. You want to live downtown Brooklyn when you're supposed to live in central Brooklyn. I don't try to live in central Brooklyn when you're supposed to live in low income housing. Stop trying to put your hat where it can't reach. That's another issue. Why you have that issue?
A lot of
And I like living in Central Brooklyn.
Well, that's not, hey, well then go to school, get the job, pay the money, get a trade. And by the way, again, I did a career day and I remind students, and thank you for all of my friends and who came out and supported the career day. One thing you tell kids, you can be a CTE, you can go vocational, and you can go to college. College is not for everybody. Vocational is not for everybody. I can't use my hands for crap. Anything around my house, I call somebody to fix it. But there are other people, anything around the house, they fix it so they save that money. But when it comes to legal conversation and documents, then they're going to call me because that's where I excel at. Know your strength and know your weaknesses.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's very important that people understand that. But at least take a path. Don't get a dead end job.
I think where the disconnect comes in is a lot of people still don't know what their strengths are. So, it's a matter of figuring out or just exploring different things until you come to that conclusion like, hey, I'm good at this. And that is where we have the disconnects with young people. Many times, hey, you're doing math, science, and social studies, but you really don't know who you are and what you're good at. So that is one of the issues.
And that's true. But you know, and when you cut out a lot of the things out of school, because everybody can graduate now, whether they qualified or not, you're gonna graduate. Now, there are people downstairs, Andre. Right. Right. So at the end of the day, give people the opportunity to pursue whatever they want to do educationally in school. And for those of you, the audience listening in, I'm gonna tell you one more time: stop telling your kids to be doctors, lawyers, and pastors, not police officers.
People
Right.
are not saying be pastors. Come
No,
on.
listen to
Right.
who you kidding? Who
Right.
are you kidding?
I have not heard that.
Oh, you got pastor. Oh, which? Okay, there are basically every profession is looked at in the West Indian community, but which ones? Because you remember, your words and actions have to be the same thing.
Mhm.
Which positions are cherished the most in any Caribbean community? Doctors, lawyers, pastors. What are you telling your children to be? If every time you see a pastor, you see a doctor, I'm not saying don't I'm not saying don't give them homage. That's not what I'm saying. Don't get the people out there. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, if you only put this into their minds, then they don't have the opportunity to develop what it is that they want to develop. That's all I'm saying.
Mm.
They could be a nurse. They could be I was one of the persons, actually, he's going to be on a show tonight. He was talking about the person in his family that makes the most money was the plumber. But yet still, we understand the work of a plumber, but do we honor the work of a plumber
Like
until we need them?
electrician. Electrician is very needy.
And that's another one,
Hmm.
right? You know, Uber drivers, if they do their job, they make a lot of money. People think like they make money. Why do you think so many people are doing it? Why are you going to drive Uber? It's not safe. Okay. There's no job in my mind that is safe. There's none. No job. Once you work, the only job that is safe maybe being at home. But I have many friends who died at home too. So I don't know any job that's safe. Can you think of one? Which one is safe?
Being a co-host on The Village with you.
Nah, it's a mental stress. I'm serious. Everybody's always complaining. Oh my. Listen, I just got something with a little kid cursing out. I got to put it in the group for us. Cursing out the teacher in Jamaica, telling the teacher, he looked at the teacher and he said to the teacher, "That's why you can't get no man." How you know as a little kid that she has poor relationship issues?
But this,
Right. And you know you want to slap him.
but look at this point right here. This is why I
And
feel like
yeah, go ahead.
the culture and technology has just caused information and I guess the way of people act spread across. Because when I you couldn't even think about that when I was growing up, and I came here at age 13 in 04, and I see the students them curse at the teacher them, and I just look and I'm like, wait, you could do that?
Yeah.
I got just sit there and I'm just like, I could not.
One thing I want to say though, I know, and that teacher's gonna get in trouble because she kind of when he digging her when he dug into her and he said you're bright and all that when he was going at her, she kind of like slapped him a little bit, right? Because she was frustrated, she didn't know what to do, and she might lose her job. But if you see the whole thing, right, I film him out, right? Oh my! I mean, it was crazy. So every job you do is dangerous. So going back to the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, if you're gonna take out the loan, make sure you take out the loan, go to school, and don't drop out. That's the most important thing because you still got the loan that you got to pay, right? No, I agree, Sophia. He deserved what he got, but the teacher is going to get in trouble and probably lose their livelihood because she's not supposed to be touching the kid. Right? You understand what I'm saying? That's where the problem comes in. That if the school says you can't touch the kid, no matter what the kid says. So again, follow what I'm saying. Take out the loan. If you have to, parents, put the loans in the student's name. You don't just take out the loan for the kid. You make sure that they sign on to the loan and they sign off the loan once they've graduated. They don't want to go to school, they're responsible for the loan. But if you can't say that you want your child to become A and then you do B. The child is not going to become a doctor if he or she doesn't take out loans, right? And get all the scholarships, right? And become a doctor. Because how are they going to pay for school?
Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know the logic of that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was clear.
So what I'm saying is,
no.
What I'm saying is, you can't become a doctor unless you go to college. You do 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of graduate school to become a doctor. That right? Okay. Or you can get into a program that says like a 7-year program. Or some of us are lucky enough to get into programs where you might get full scholarship, full benefits. Okay, right. So things can happen, right?
So
however,
chances
you
might not necessarily need a loan 100%.
No. You will always, no matter what it is, you're still gonna need loan. The question is how much loan. That's the way the question comes in. How much money that you're able to do. Some parents are willing to say, I'm willing to take out a second mortgage on the house. Some parents have a 529K that they started when the kid was young, right? Some people, they don't make enough money, so they're going to get a large amount of financial aid. Some people, they have an inheritance and a trust. You don't know. So you look from zero to all. You get what I'm saying? You're going to pay from zero to all. So somewhere in there, unless you're in, I'm talking about the parents who don't have the money. I'm not talking about parents who have the money. I'm talking about the parents who don't have the money and say, I'm not going to take out any loans for go to school. So how do you think the kid is going to go to school? No, I'm talking about college.
Scholarships.
No, but you still got to pay. You stop saying scholarship. Everybody says scholarship. Everybody cannot get a scholarship.
Parents.
Everybody keeps saying that there are a lot of scholarships out there, but every child doesn't get it. You borrow the money. Whatever way you need to do to complete it, whether you get scholarship, grants, federal loans, or personal loans, whatever you need to do, You do what you need to do so that your child accomplishes what he or she wants to accomplish.
Correct.
Period. Oh, I'm not going to take out any loans. No, you take out the loan. Because then what are you saying to your child? What are you telling the child if you don't take out the loan? Now, it's a serious question. Why is everybody silent? Answer the question. What are you saying to your child if you're telling the child in one breath, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become a this, become a that, become a plumber, go to trade school, go to Lincoln Tech, and yet still when the bill comes, you go, oh, well, we can't afford it. Okay, so then, and I'm also not taking out a loan.
Well, you kill all hope or faith.
There you go.
the person had.
That's it. So you pick your choice, pick your poison. That's what it comes down to.
So villagers, on that note, pick your poison.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
So in Roe versus Wade, according to the draft opinion by Judge Alito, a woman would not get that opportunity to make choice.
Wait, I have a question. Is it that I was thinking about that, but I don't think that they're denying pro-choice. They're denying that the U.S. right? The U.S. has the Constitution does not have the right to make a national law against abortion, right? Say it has to go back to the state. So the state can make a determination of whether or not it's legal or illegal. But before, the states didn't have a say. Every state was able to
The
provide.
reason you didn't have a stay because you had very different. The reason you get cases to go into the Supreme Court is because you have different outcomes on these cases.
Right.
So there was a different outcome. That's what you Roe versus Wade. And Roe versus Wade it's all about the right of privacy. Basically, they're saying where in the Constitution does it give a woman a right to privacy to choose whether or not to abort a fetus or not? That is what the issue is. And
Look, going back to our comment, parents should never sacrifice their retirement for child education. What does that mean, Warren?
what's up, my brother? And Warren is a financial guy. So Warren, please specify that a little bit.
What does that mean? Parents should never sacrifice their retirement for the child education. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, there's one thing you can look at it is there's so many other revenue streams in which to provide your child with a very good education. There's so many scholarships available out there. There is loans, there are grants. It's all about just doing your homework.
But that's what I'm saying. But he made a blanket statement.
And also working for the right company that would pay some of your.
There you go. So what we're trying to tell people when he says that parents should never sacrifice retirement is that you have to utilize your options.
Right.
Right. Your retirement, like your children, like a lot of parents, if you don't create the environment, you're always going to pay for your kids. So that some people believe that your children are your retirement. They're not. You also need to prepare for your own retirement because you have to know how to spend your money as well. So I think the conversation, not about spending your retirement, but what allocations did you make? But going back to the Roe versus Wade. So you're saying the right to privacy means that a person can do whatever they want to do, and it's their business. That's your point. All right. But when you push back to the state, one of the things I want to tell people, right? One of the things I want to tell people is that contrary to popular, the amount of the racial component, right? The racial component in terms of abortion is not singularly black or white. We know that the persons who carry children.
Chicken good, Andre?
I told you it was good, right?
Looking to the bone,
right?
So it's eating the gristle in the bone.
The king of chicken on Utica and Glenwood, right? It's excellent. What?
Pennsylvania and Flatland.
No, I'm saying you when you taste it, you see.
I've had it before.
No, I'm saying when you taste this, right? So, what I'm saying is that people don't understand something. It's not most black kids most black kids are young blacks. They believe in fornication and don't believe in abortion. Like they go together, right? God will chastise me if I were to abort the child, and God won't chastise you to have, the act that would get you pregnant. You could have multiple partners, and it's okay. So that's the belief, and so they would bring children to term. Latinos in general are the ones who have, so the most single parents. Again, it's not numbers. We're not looking at raw numbers. You're looking at percentage people, because there's not enough blacks in America, and there aren't enough Latinos in America to say there are more. When you look at percentages, blacks are number one with single household. They're number one by far. Unmarried pregnancies. Because for us, that's it, right? Then you have Latinos who have children young. Then now when you come to whites and other races, not that they don't have single parents, but they normally have children in wedlock and they might get a divorce, which is different, right? Because at some time the child was with his or her mother and father together. Right. And one of the things I try to tell my kids, John, if a woman is good enough for you to get pregnant, she's good enough for you to marry. Mm-hmm. And they go together. Mm-hmm. And our parents, you need to start teaching your kids.
Abstinence is the best.
Abstinence is the best. Serve God. If you believe in God, then you got to follow the path. Mm-hmm. You can't just pick and choose what you want to believe.
You can't.
Things happen. I'm not saying no, but you can't just pick and choose. Like parents who have multiple, women who have multiple children, fathers who have multiple children. You chose that.
You can't afford to get a small piece.
What? We can't hear you, John.
You can't afford to get a small piece and not
or give a small piece away,
or not be concerned about the consequences that small piece may produce.
Yeah. And then they'll say, oh, well, if you went into something with a knowledge, then you know what comes out of that knowledge.
But hold on. I think what it just comes, we're getting away from the whole point here. That whole point is just you having the ability to control your own choices. Make your own choices.
I want to turn the camera. I want to turn the camera to Andre. All right. Look. All right. But I make good ones. The thing going back to what we're talking about though is that there are more red states in America than there are blue states. So a lot of when you go back and you put it back to the states, it will never happen in New York, right? That abortion would be illegal. Probably will never happen. But when you talk about California, it will never happen. But Texas, it can. Florida, it can. And what I find interesting is that I tend to believe that more whites have more abortions than black.
Alabama too.
I think more white kids.
Well, we're not here for you to think.
We don't care.
We don't think that. We don't put on.
But Andre, can you let it up?
Substantiated statements such as
because
that.
I went to high school and college and
okay.
I went to high school and college and
what you did in high school and college has nothing to do with
okay,
it.
So you don't even know what I'm talking about. You just want to jump to because your mind is in the gutter. Your
Yep.
mind is in the gutter. What I was about to say is that what I observed in high school,
you don't want to hear it. It was
right,
so
was that the relationship was different.
Hold on. Excuse me, Dr. Brian, you're drinking?
Yes, with the straw. Really? With the straw.
Right. So I'm just telling you that. So and that happened a lot. Today I'm so
wait,
our show is brought to you by the Single Parent University. Yeah, I noticed, right? Single Parent University, open admissions, course, curriculum, personal mindfulness, parenting, support seminar, financial management, nutrition and wellness, program benefits, free session, childcare, transportation, social support hub, resume and cover letter, career exploration, and legal assistance. right? And so just to make sure that people understand that, yay, listen, if you did that and you need some help, don't think that people are not out there to help you. So you get the help, how to start preparing for that child to go to college. I mentioned the word 529K. Warren, one of our viewers, talked about parents should never sacrifice their retirement for child education. So when you look at this, they're going to help you to create financial mindfulness and management in order to help you to prepare that child to go to college. So cut down on the amount of loans that you need to pay. You put some money in that 529, you're good to go. So, whatever ways. And so come to them, 529. Also, on Saturday, the Village is co-sponsoring an event called Mental Health and the Caribbean Community, where we'll have special guest speaker, Kadisha Dixon, Allison Rumi. I will be the host and MC, along with Corey DeGaines. All to you brought to you. Hopefully we'll have our special guest, invited guest is Deputy Bar President Diana Richardson, who should be there, and Dr. Christopher Johnson, to talk about mental health. It's through the Caribbean, looking at issues like COVID, looking at issues like race, socioeconomic development. What are some of the things that impact why we do not seek to get assistance through mental health? So join us on Saturday from 10:30 a.m. It's called Coffee and Mental Health. Coffee and Mental Health. That means come with your cup of coffee, come with your breakfast, sit down at your table. Let's have a conversation around mental health. That's this Saturday, May 14th, from 10:30 to 12, from 10:30 to 12 a.m. And you can catch it on 12 p.m. And you can catch us on the Village radio show. You can see that and hear and listen in. I forget anyone?
That sounds good.
All right. You were saying, Dr. Bryant. By the way, John couldn't help himself. The chicken was just calling his name. Go ahead.
Pathetic. You guys, I'm so upset with you all. But anyway.
That's because you get to do the same thing.
What happened?
We were talking about abortion and
I heard something very, very controversial this week, and it was from a Republican individual who mentioned.
Isn't it always?
No. Let me not classify that. Let me take that back.
So when you tell me what I was going to talk about, now you see how it feels?
No. Let me take it back. It was from an individual who actually mentioned that they were against pro-life. I wanted to hear their perspective, and they said that
they're against pro-life or pro-choice.
Pro-choice. They were against the whole abortion thing, which they felt that, hey, the government can say, you shouldn't have an abortion because they were forced to take the vaccine. Because the government mentioned that, hey, you know what? You have to do this. You have to do that. So it's equal. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, wait. Let her finish, man.
I'm done.
Exactly. See,
I'm done.
If you pay attention, you know she was done. So basically what they're saying is they want to eliminate your choice to determine whether or not you want to continue your pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
However,
mm-hmm.
they want to give you the freedom of choice to choose whether or not you want to take a vaccine. And this is what we call hypocrisy at its highest level.
Well, they said that many people actually lost their job in the process of not taking a vaccine, that they were forced
to exercising their choice.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the arguments, right? Good night, Anne Marie. Good night. Oh, good night, everyone out there. Good on all of our villagers. Did we say hello? I don't think we did.
I said hello to all my villagers.
Hello, all our villagers. One of the argument is that the unborn, right? The unborn
mm-hmm.
cannot dictate whether or not he or she wants to live.
Well, no, but who does the unborn belong to? Does the unborn belong to the state or to the parents who conceived that child?
Mm.
So both parents are in agreement or have an agreement with respect to that. It comes to their choice. You know, who are you? First of all, who are you to speak for my unborn child? Second of all, when my child is born, you want to cut all the social service resources that are needed, educational, social service resources that are needed for me to maintain my child at a certain
Because I
level
chose to bring
so
him in this
he
world.
can succeed in society. You know, one hand yeah. In the other hand, you're saying, no, we're going to cut this, we're going to cut this, we're going to cut that. Come on, you can't have it both ways.
Well, let me add something else to that, John.
Mhm.
They're the same one. You know, a lot of these same states who believe in corporal punishment. When
Yeah.
you knew that you were not going to be a fit parent and you said, oh, this and I can't do this, they're like, oh, and then you bring this child into this world, into this environment. And now all of a sudden you want to incarcerate them. And that's a problem, right? So you can't, it's like you pick and choose what you want to think is right and wrong.
Mhm.
This is just the society in and of itself. And the whole point is we need to be mindful of when we engage, when there's a level of intimacy between two individuals, and there's a possibility that another child can be born. So these are the things before you make that choice to even engage in intimacy. You need to understand these are consequences that may take place. So that's why, you know, a lot of time you see women are very reserved or skeptical in engaging in certain relationships with individuals because they know, you know, certain things can happen, and they want to make sure that they put themselves in a position, to make sure that whatever happens or
Let me fix
whatever consequences occurs, that, you know, they are prepared to deal with whatever consequences that exist, and that's what is all right. And I have a lot of respect for women out there because of the discernment that they have to practice, because they want to make the right choice. Maureen, good night.
Good night, Maureen. How you doing?
So I see, Doc, you're biting at the bit. I see.
But can we move on to another subject, or
Yes, please.
Because you want to move on.
and I'm just asking a question. I want to talk about COVID.
What about COVID?
So,
1 million
yep.
deaths due to COVID. 1 million.
Yeah,
Can you
one.
imagine that?
The flag in the United States, the United States Capitol, Washington D.C. is flying a
Can I ask
half mast.
question from my co-host.
Right.
Where were y'all guys when COVID, you know,
When it really hit, the first day that it hit, I was home.
I was at work.
And what were your guys' thoughts? What were your guys' thoughts of this unknown? Did it seem like this was a movie or
so? Let me share my experience. I remember. So in December I took sick. February I went to the hospital. I remember
December 2019.
December 2019 I took sick.
Mm-hmm.
First diagnosis. And then I remember I went to Albany because I was doing something with the UFT that weekend. So that was February 4th. I went to Albany and I was spending and I was staying overnight.
And you got sick. I remember that.
Yep. And I went to the hospital. So my hospital is in Mount Sinai, and I was passing blood both ways, right? I was passing blood coming from the mouth and from the rectum, both of those things, right? I was scared because I knew, you know, the other part of the negative thing of my illness. And then they put me in this room on the first floor, right? They put me in this room when I went to the hospital. And this is my first interaction with COVID. They didn't know what it was called at that time. And so they rushed me from out of that room. And they brought me upstairs. And then by the next morning, I was at the Mount Sinai in Manhattan. They used the ambulance and then they, right? And then they transferred me to.
You were upstate and they transferred you all the way.
No. I was upstate. So I was upstate in Albany. My sister-in-law and my cousin Tamika drove me to Woodbury Commons.
Mhm.
My father and my son Christian drove to Woodbury Commons, and they just took me, out, because at that point I was weak beyond thing, and then they brought me back. Then I stayed one night at the house. I was like, I'm gonna watch it, and I still was passing blood, right? And then so at that point I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. So that's my first interaction with COVID, when they rushed me from one room and they're like, they closed up everything. Nobody could come visit me. Nobody could see me. So that was my first interaction. And then when I was home, after I got out and I was watching it at home, that was
Flooding. As such, Mr. Holness says the
that
digitization
was
will
crazy.
preserve vital records, a process which is important for public accountability.
right. That was crazy to me. And I think that interaction. So those two, that's my first interaction with COVID. What about you? Were saying you were teaching? No, that like your first, I think your first close call, because we were all watching it on television when Washington they were talking about it, and we were like, it's not gonna hit the United States because it was in Washington State. Your first interaction.
I think it was more watching the teachers get nervous. People were falling sick left and right from it, students, teachers. And then, overall, the fear came from, okay, don't touch this. So overnight, a person that you were just interacting with the day before, and then the next day they come in with masks and cover up completely. They don't, the shield and the extra layers. So that was quite different from seeing someone a day before to something else. And then when they actually said that everything was shutting down, that was a whole new the fear of shutdown to everyone and what it looked like, and how is this thing traveling, and how is it, is it from the hand, is it from the air, what is it? Not knowing, the unknown was a big I guess fear tactic for everyone, and not knowing who else would be sick, because everyone around you is getting sick. So that was nerve-wracking. And then having the mindset that, hey, everything is shutting down.
Shut down.
Yeah. And here it is. I was one of the few individuals who actually was traveling on a road by myself, because I was in one of the sites where doctors and prison guards and everyone needed to put their kids in order for life to function as normal.
Wow.
And that was interesting in itself. So sending my kids over to their grandparents for the whole week or so, and not wanting to, if I came into contact with someone who actually did have COVID, not to transmit it to my family or my elderly family members. So that was scary in itself. And then seeing how empty everything was. When I mean I was the only car traveling.
That's true.
Seriously, state troopers used to pull some of my workers and say, hey, what are you doing on the streets? And I had to write letters to say, hey, they are authorized to be on the street, and this is where they're going. So that was nerve-wracking. And then when you have, thank God no one at the site where I was actually got sick, but when you have the prison guards stating that they had to remove a certain amount of bodies, and they're calling, so to defuse and to make sure that they're mentally okay in order to pick up their children was something else. Because here it is, the kids are enjoying themselves or trying to form a new normalcy, and then now you have to make sure that you bring everybody back down to reality, like, hey, you're about to get your kids, hey, are you ready mentally for this? And the doctors, the same thing. We couldn't survive. We couldn't save this person's life. Or having nurses come in to say, hey, I just had COVID. My kids have COVID. And unfortunately, I was told to get back to work because my mom got sick and she's a nurse. So, transferring over and trying to make sure that you're safeguarding babies and everything. So that was scary. Very, very scary. But like that. Enough of that. What are your thoughts? Why do you sit back? It was a mental thing.
No, because when you think about it, it was real, and then they came up with the vaccine, and one of the things that people they surmised, right, that we're at 1 million death, but right now because of the lack of vaccine, you're looking at the numbers.
You know what I'm happy about?
And that well, up till today they have a current of 300. They still have about 300 people dying per day from
vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Yeah, but people, but one of the things that I always say in an argument, like for people who don't necessarily agree with the vaccine, they always throw in that people who are vaccinated are dying too.
No. That was
hold on. Let me finish the thought. No. Wait. I'm gonna give you a chance. They always throw that in, and then you keep reminding people that the vaccine is not there to give you 100% safeguard against COVID and the side effects of COVID. It is there to provide a significant case against possible hospitalization. So the highest number of people who die from COVID are those who are unvaccinated. The least number of people who die from COVID are those who are fully vaccinated. So the most is people who are unvaccinated. That's number one. And the numbers are not even close, right? So that creates a different conversation, right? Which makes it, you have, and one of the biggest carriers, unfortunately, are also young people because they have less effect unless they have some severe conditions and they're higher carriers. But that's the real thing. You were saying something, Dr. Brian.
You know what I am happy not to see, unfortunately, with thinking about how many, 1 million people died from
1 million people died
in the United States.
You became numb to hearing how many people, during that time.
Hearing and seeing, because remember we saw those savage looking
not only
ice
that
trucks or whatever.
I was so sick of the Zoom funerals. Every time you turn around, the Zoom funerals, that's one thing. And then hearing who you couldn't take it no more, like completely numb.
Hey, Doc, I agree with you. And what annoyed me the most was CNN running the daily death totals.
Yes. Daily, the top chart was the daily cases and the daily death. Yeah, it was kind of scary. Then you have the world. And we actually on our show, we also did a lot of what it was like, because we were updating people as well on what was happening. Where I think we stopped about last summer, we stopped doing the update about that. But it's just crazy. So I'm not telling anybody to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. I'm just saying have a real reason. That's all I'm saying. Just have one. And not because Warren is saying it's probably more than 1 million people who lost their lives to COVID. And of course, because a lot of I'm thinking about places like Jamaica, right? So I go to Jamaica, a third world country. You can't afford to take a COVID test, right? It costs you more than a week's salary to get a COVID test in Jamaica. Why would I take a COVID test if I'm poor and I can't afford $9,500, $7,500, which is $60, and the minimum wage is about $7,000. So I have a family to feed, and I'm going to spend $7,000 to take a COVID test. I don't feel good. So a lot of people died who were making those unfortunate, tough choices. So we don't know truly what the numbers are. Because also you could, you throw somebody under ice, they get buried.
Mm-mm.
You live in the West, you live in certain countries. Hey, poverty's people when I talk about, creating economic wealth and being middle class, poverty is real.
Yeah.
It makes you doing and what's one of my fear, which is our next topic, which is about the gun violence that's happening in New York. I'm afraid now, as I'm saying, poverty is real, that with the inflation, high prices, can't afford anything, can't afford no rent. I'm gonna see. I hate to brace ourselves.
Wait, before
Oh, I'm sorry, Doc. Go ahead.
no, before you say that, I want people to be concerned because the numbers are going back up for COVID. I want
Yes,
to go back to that because they are going back up and people are getting sick, and it's going back to that cycle again. And I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's because we actually got comfortable and said, okay, it's done? And now hearing, oh no, we're resurfacing again. What are your thoughts? I'm sorry.
I think it's a good question. You want to take it, John?
My thoughts are, let's get back to the basics. And the basics are wash your hands, sanitize, wear a mask in places where there are huge crowds. Let's just get back to our basics. Practice safe
Hygiene.
safe hygiene, and to avoid something like this. That's honestly what it boils. Simply put, that's what it boils down to.
Do you think they're going to put the restrictions back on again?
I think the mayor is doing everything in his power not to put those restrictions back on. And that's why he's asked people to let's just adhere to the basics. Let's wear our masks. Let's wash our hands. If we can just do that, if we can do just the basics, we can prevent the spread.
We got frustrated with COVID.
Yeah, I think that's a good statement. People got tired of being inside.
Mm-hmm.
People got tired, and you know what? I realized triggers. And that's one
I
thing
can
that's in there.
understand people get tired of being outside, but rather you practice safety, or we could be eulogizing you at your funeral.
It's funny. I was driving with my cousin yesterday, and I made the statement to her. Said, "Some people rather to be dead right than alive wrong." Right? Because you're right. I want to be outside. Leave me alone. Just leave me, dude. You need to do the right thing. Right. So you need to do the right thing. You need to do whatever. It's funny. I'm a very not good mask wearer, but I found that I was wearing my mask this weekend. I was doing a little bit more with the mask.
Because the numbers are going back up and people are getting sick. And it's not just allergies, ladies and gentlemen. It is people actually getting sick again. And the fact that, hey, at-home testing is happening, there's no guarantee that they're going to tell you that they're sick. So you have to be cautious.
If more people were like my wife, I think less people would catch COVID.
And there's no contact tracing anymore. So you on your own, buddy. It's up to you.
So
people must be taught as if you taught them not to. Not things unknown proposed as things forgot.
That's interesting. I have no idea what that says, but
I do it, but I give you credit for it, or I know something and make it seem as if you were the one who had figured it out.
Oh,
being humble.
Oh, giving credit to somebody else. Yeah. Okay, all right, I got it. Is there still a mask requirement on public transportation? Yes, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is. There's still a mask requirement for being on public transportation. So the gun violence in New York City, well, around the United States, is going up. So crime is going up.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these things are happening because of the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And people are not really at that understanding. So yes, we are our own Achilles heel,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're the one. You weren't inside. I see people outside drinking, doing stupidness, getting angry, robbing. When there was COVID, like Joanne said at earlier, Juju said at the earlier, it was very simple. There was nobody else on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Everybody's out.
everybody's out. And you know what else went up? Damn cameras when you were inside for COVID. They found the time to put those stupid street cameras. Yeah, the amount of cameras that have gone up. Oh my God.
But you know what? Yes,
And
cameras
I don't see the need.
for speeding, but what they do need, last week, unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, the crime rate around schools have gone up. And there's a lack of respect for children. For there used to be a respect for, hey, you don't do, like John had mentioned a couple weeks ago, there's certain things you don't do. There was a code of ethics, a code that, hey, you know what, you just don't do that. But nowadays it doesn't matter. You know, my friends last week Thursday, coming out of a school, they sprayed the whole area with bullets. Cars completely gone. So that is bizarre to me. Like, there's no regards about anyone coming out or anything at all. The little boy who got hit yesterday, walking, leaving school, then running back in for safety. So,
In
you
that
know,
aspect.
I am sick of that. Sick of that. The little girl walking out who got killed just leaving school. So there is a lack of regard for lives. And that's the problem.
No, he got shot in the arm and they had to rush in and have to do a sheltering
Mm-hmm.
in Massbeck High School in Queens.
Mhm.
17-year-old, right? You know, this, you know, it's not new, but it's always scary and disgusting
Mm-hmm.
when innocent young people, or what, innocent or not, but young people who lose their lives are being touched by gun violence. And also the reckless regards for life. Because I see some people interacting. We talked about last week on last week's show, or it was the week before, with a kid at the Queens subway station, 24 years old, fighting. I've seen certain patterns and certain behaviors that, like, you're sitting there going, are you serious? I mean, when you think about it, like, is that really worth fighting for? Some of these conversations, what is it really worth fighting for? Because I said your girl has a fat booty, you mad?
Some people would be.
Why?
There's
If
a
she-
sense of possession,
Uh,
ownership.
But again, one of the things I tell people, as long as you don't touch my wife, I don't really care. Because I know that, no, that too, she's coming back home with me. But not only that, is I saw her too. You get what I'm saying? I saw her too. Shoot, you think I spoke to her because she was unattractive? Right?
TMI, my brother. TMI.
No, but that's the point that I'm making to a lot of people out there. You saw somebody, you saw something physically attractive about that person. That means that other people see the same thing you see. No, what I'm saying, if your wife, your girlfriend is pretty, have the shape very nicely, other people see that too.
True.
Right? So if you're gonna get mad every time somebody acknowledge, whether it's good or bad, acknowledges that in her, you're gonna get mad. Yo, why are you looking at my girl? Because she looks good.
Yeah, but
We like things that are
But again, there's disrespect though. There's if
Depends on how it's said.
no, that's what I'm saying. If the person now goes beyond all of that, like you're sitting with your wife or your girl, and now he walks over trying to give her the number, right? Giving the number, you know, that's a little bit different. But looking at for me to see Joanne on, and I look at her, I'm like, oh, she's pretty, so I'm gonna look at her. That's it. You know, I don't know, and a lot of guys get caught up with that, right?
I agree.
You know,
John looks good too.
huh?
John looks good too.
Andre's saying John looks good. Yo, this is the first time John became like Joanne, right? He got nothing to say. He moved on. It's like,
Yeah, I like to say.
no, it's like you telling Joanne to go
But
smoke
I'm not gonna-
marijuana.
I'm not going to be like
Can't hear you, John.
I'm not going to be like Will Smith and take hands of my own.
And slap Andre. You want to slap Andre?
Andre. I'm not going to do that.
What? Yeah. I've never seen. That is, ladies and gentlemen, that is the fastest. Right, that is the fastest I've ever seen John got quiet. Right. So, John, our audience keep complaining that your voice is too low. So I'm just telling you.
Can
Right?
you hear me, my audience?
Right.
Can you hear me, Doc?
I just keep telling you that.
Yeah, bring the mic up just a little tad bit.
All right. So anyway, so that's a problem, right? So the question is, and again, I go back. I was watching. Somebody sent me a video. I don't know how true or not true it is. That's not the point of the video that I want to talk about. The guy this is an old video. It's like about 4 or 5 years old. The guy sends a video in, and the guy sends a video in, and he says he's on the news,
Mhm.
and he shot the guy and killed him.
Mm.
He unloaded Jamaican guy, so he was in his deep Jamaican accent. His point was the guy came to rob him, point the gun in his face. He boxed the gun away, pulled his gun, and unloaded on him, killed him on the spot.
Mhm.
I am a staunch advocate that New York City needs to allow people who's capable. I notice I used the word capable. I didn't say everyone. I said capable of carrying a gun to allow them to have it. I don't believe, because it's not people who are legal. When I say legal, I'm not talking about your immigration status,
Unlicensed.
Right?
Sorry.
right?
You're lying, Warren. Ain't no such thing as being. There's
Th-
no
th-
such thing as
There's a fair one anymore. Absolutely.
That's true, man. I
Right.
remember we used to go into school, y'all. I'll meet you at 3:00. It was knuckles on knuckles.
Right. You know, that's why I'm a staunch advocate of allowing people to have their guns.
You know
Yeah,
what? I have no problem that if there's training, but people are too emotional.
Mhm,
And you look at the road rage, what goes on. Just
mhm.
people they don't have the necessary discipline. To some people don't have the necessary discipline to avoid situations such as that when there are firearms involved. You know.
I'm all for it. I'm like, yo, let's go. Hey, Shaba, what's going on? Good morning. You really don't want New York City folks carrying it. Why not, Warren?
Because they already have road rage.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
well,
they're carried on the
but-
subway.
but wait.
somebody
it's-
looked at you wrong in the subway. Somebody doesn't get up. Next thing you know, some people feel emboldened knowing that I have a firearm on my hip, so
That's
you know
true.
that I'm invincible. You know, it's not that way. It's all about
Again, but you got to
discipline.
remember something, John. You have a gun. I have a gun. We all have a gun. So it's not like now they're
so we
invincible.
all
We're
going to
just
shoot 'em up.
Right, exactly. It's gonna be a bigger
Nah.
mess.
No,
Roger.
that's not the point I want to make it.
What's the point you're trying to make?
The point I'm
Yeah.
making is when you have a gun, right? And I don't have one, I'm a big dog.
Mhm.
I have a gun, you have a gun, you're gonna think twice.
Of course, you're going to think.
And
twice.
that's the difference between allowing it to be legal and not legal.
But at the same time, people, as I repeat, people cannot control their emotions and they
Exactly.
react
Exactly.
Again, Anne Marie,
Caution.
the average, I don't even have to look up this data, but I can tell you that the average person that was killed with a gun, an innocent person that was killed with a gun, is somebody who didn't have a gun.
Yeah, but guess what? Half of the time, you have people who have guns who are going back illegally. Okay, the illegal guns back and forth. But even some that do have a gun legally feel as though, hey, I'm invincible, like John mentioned.
Again, let me say it one more time. I believe, and without looking,
Exactly.
that the most people who get killed by a gun is somebody who was attacked by somebody with a gun. So therefore, if we both have a gun,
It's not going to make a difference.
it makes a heck of a being a
It's
difference.
not going to make
All
a
right.
difference. Brandon, I agree. So now we're bringing back the old West.
Now, the old West is we shoot a fair one with a gun. That's old West, Brandon.
But that's what you're saying. That's exactly
Why
what
don't
you're
we go
saying.
back to the good old days when you just had a duel? Let's duel it out. I'll walk 20 paces back to back, and the first one to turn around and shoot the other person will win.
That's the old West,
That's
and I'm not for that. I'm not for.
And you have
I'm
to-
not like the
Well,
Japanese.
you know who we should
That
ask?
is
We should
so
ask
true.
Elon Musk. We should ask Elon Musk what he feels about that. Elon, how do you
What-
feel about that?
All right, what is he worth now? Elon Musk is worth what?
He's the richest person in
No,
the
is he?
world.
No, I thought it was
In the
Bezos,
US.
200 million. He's worth 200 million, or or Bezos?
Yeah, he's
One of them is
about
worth 200 million.
quarter of
A billion, right? So it's him, right?
No, excuse me, a quarter of a
Quarter of a trillion.
Sure. A quarter
So
of a trillion.
Warren, I agree. If you draw your weapon, you have to be prepared to use it.
Bro, and that is the point.
Yes.
You know, and Warren, you know, back in the day,
Yes.
it says, if you hit me, I said, if you pull out a weapon, you pull out a knife or something like that, you better be prepared to use it. Because if I get that knife or gun, I'm going to be prepared. And that's what I'm saying. You got to be prepared for the consequences that will happen once you pull out that weapon.
Yep.
You know, some people, and you know, I listened to the conversation of some people. I pulled out that gun because I was angry and I was upset. And I spent 41 years in jail for that split-second decision I made. I spent 41 years in jail, missed my children growing up. My parents passed away. You hear this continuous story.
Well, I know that our mayor brought a good point up this week that
He must have given a good point. You said he made a good point, Dr. Bryant.
so listen,
Mayor Adams, you're doing all right. You're getting Dr. Bryant on your side.
I am annoyed at people who are saying that he's not doing enough. The man just came into power.
He didn't just come into office. He's been in office for 5
Yes.
months.
Oh, listen, this
All right,
crap.
let me ask you a question. Wait. I don't like what you. Wait, I
don't want to hear it, Roderick. You cannot blame him for coming on for 5 months, and it took more than 2 years to create this mess that the former mayor didn't take care of. So now he got to clean up,
Your friend, Bill de Blasio.
and then now he has to put things in place. It doesn't happen overnight.
He has to put his infrastructure in place. You have to put your foundation in place for people to see the benefits from it. We are impatient. That's why nobody wants to come to New York, because we are just too impatient. That's why ball players, that's why athletes don't want to come to New York, because we are so highly critical. But if we were in the same positions, we wouldn't even know what to do.
Exactly. So now all those ghost guns and guns that they've been collecting, can you imagine? I don't think de Blasio would have done that.
2,600 guns have been confiscated in 5 months. 2,600 guns. Hey, Dr. Bryant, did they confiscate your gun too?
I don't know.
Juju packing, boy.
But anyway, I give credit to our mayor. I do. because they are on attack mode for him, but he's doing what he has to do. They're out there. And he also mentioned that is the court system. It's not even the court system. Yeah, it is the court system and wonderful legislation and bills and things that they put in place. He mentioned it. You arrest someone, you get them off the street, you take
Just like that 25-year-old kid, he was out on a gun possession case. He was getting ready to go in or get sentenced or
December. They've been waiting from December.
it's been 2 years, so he's waiting to go in next month and engaged in a shootout with a police officer. And you know what?
They had
His life
asked
is over. Yeah.
hold bail, please keep him, hold him. They was like, no, they had put
And
him
this
out.
is what they're talking about. Give the judges some discretion. But however, you judges, please do not abuse that discretion.
Violence is a major issue. You have issues going on in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. You have all over. And you talk about. I'm still so hurt with the 12-year-old Cade, Ashton Tyler Lewin,
Home.
sitting in his car.
Eating.
So I'm very fortunate to work on the street co-naming for him. Being part of that person, spearheading, heading the conversation.
And we
letting
give
that
all
happen,
these billions to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And the school systems are troubling. And so, we have a young man. Our guest, one of the issues that we need to ask him, ask him about, he's running for assembly. We're going to ask him. We have a couple of issues out there. We had the COVID issue, the 1 million. Right. We want to find out from him what his take on that. We want to ask about this violence. Because violence is a very, very big sting. Although he's running at the state level, right? He's looking at the New York City level. So I want to bring him on. You ready back to stage there? I guess you're ready now, even if you're not. Because you're on stage. You're on stage. So hey, Jelani.
How are
Your
you?
name didn't come up. I didn't see it. Maybe I did it wrong. Let me see if it comes up. Hold on. All right. Yes, it does. All right. So welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show, Mr. Deshaun. And thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is John Deshaun, lifelong resident of Central Brooklyn, educated at all local schools that encompasses the 43rd, PS 241, PS 138. And then yesterday, Mr. Daly and I were at my old high school, Brooklyn Academy of Science and Environment at Prospect Heights. Then I went on to college at Hunter College here in the city. And then right after that, began my work in the city council and then for the state. And then most recently working for the governor of the state of New York. And now I'm running for New York State Assembly in the 43rd Assembly District.
All right. The first easiest question I have for you is, did you endorse the governor?
I have not. I haven't endorsed anybody. I think I come from a very unique perspective where I think I'm the only candidate running for office that I could say that I've worked for both Jumaane Williams and Kathy Hochul. So I'm gonna let them and let the voters decide. But I haven't endorsed.
What district you running? 43rd?
Yeah, and I don't plan to endorse anyone.
Oh, okay, so you're running against the incumbent Brian Cunningham, right?
Yes, yeah. Brian and I both ran in the special.
Okay.
And I'm running again.
Okay. So what about Tom Suozzi? No, you can't just say, I split the difference.
I'm not, I think I have my differences with Tom Suozzi. I think I like Jumaane a lot. I have a lot of respect for Jumaane. I also like the current governor, Kathy Hochul. So I'll let the people decide. And, when I go to vote, I'll vote who between me and God when I go in the booth.
All right. Got you.
Amen.
So, so Jelani, young man from the community, went to Base High School. Well, we call it Base High School, but technically it's an academy, Base Academy for Science and Environment. But we always say Base High School for some reason because we're used to that. You're of Caribbean background.
Yep.
Yeah.
Proud product of the Spice Island of Grenada. Grew up, spent the first couple of years of my life living with my grandparents in Trinidad and Tobago.
Spice, nutmeg spice.
There you go.
I love Grenada. I never visited. Have you gone back?
Yeah, I try to go back every other year, but I haven't been back since COVID.
Yeah, COVID is a big question. So you know what? Let's start with that. Let's
Yeah.
start with that. COVID's on the rise, right? One of our favorite topics on the radio show here. People are, what John said, let their guards down or something like that a little bit. They're not doing the
The basics, the very
base.
basics.
They're not back
Wash
to the
your
basics.
hands, wear the mask.
Right.
Yeah, I think as someone who I spent during the height of the pandemic, I worked at SUNY Downstate Medical Center, which was the only COVID designated hospital in the city of New York. So we saw really the brunt of COVID at an underfunded and under-resourced hospital right here in Brooklyn. So we saw the first wave, second wave, third wave. And now I think what we've seen, honestly, is what's been going on the national level, a lack of respect for science and a lack of respect for the expert. I think we need to go back and revert back to listen to the people who have been fighting COVID since the beginning and continue to fight it. I think I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I think I have a lot of respect for the current mayor. I have a lot of respect for the governor, but I think the easing of restrictions has definitely played a factor into why we see a rise in cases. Before the elimination of the restrictions, we were almost at 1% positivity rate throughout the entire state. Now we just broke 7%.
Wow.
So I think we need to go back to a point where we go back and listen to the experts and sometimes put science first. I know sometimes it's a very difficult job, as you guys were talking about, Dr. Bryant and John were talking about earlier about.
So you would advocate shutting down the city again?
I won't say advocating. I wouldn't say shut down the city again, but I would definitely bring back mass restrictions and stuff like that. I think we have to be safe. I think, as much as we want to give people personal choice, I think it's time for, I think we always want to do what's politically correct and say, oh, well, we don't want to, but I think when we're in a pandemic.
Forget the politically correct. We need to do what is scientifically correct.
I can agree with you more. I think we need to go back to bringing back the mask, 6 feet, restricting how much people we allow into large venues and stuff like that. That's my personal opinion. If I was the mayor, that's something that I would bring back and fully support. It may damage me when I walk down the street, people yell at me, but I think when I'm thinking about the health of my community and the city of New York, I would do anything in my power to make sure that people feel safe walking the streets again.
But you know what? Here, you also have to think about people coming from all over now. You want your economy to be back up and running. So some people don't want to deal with restrictions where other states are not having restrictions. So it's going to be a clash no matter what. So how would you deal with that?
Yeah, listen, I think it's a tough choice, and I thank God every day I'm not the mayor or the governor. But it's a tough choice, and you really have to gamble. I think you have to think about. We're trying to get through COVID and try to get out of it. What I would have done was I would have waited for us to at least get below 1% for at least a 7-day period before easing the restrictions. I think we kind of rushed too fast into that. And I think also the federal government with the easing of restrictions in regards to airlines is also another issue as well. I think where everyone's focused on
pleasing everyone.
Midterm elections or elections coming up, and we're really not focusing on the data and the science.
So Giuliani, you're saying not focus on the data and the science. Well, you look at Elon Musk, what he did. He focused on Twitter's inability to provide what he can consider free opportunity, free access, and choice for individuals. So shouldn't we, being in the position to be an elected official, be concerned about those individuals and especially those businesses who need the flow of people to patronize them? What do we do? How do we help him? Like Elon Musk came around and he said, you know what? I didn't like what Twitter was doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy Twitter. So what do we do? What do you do as an elected official to listen to the science, but at the same time, the business people have to operate?
Mm-hmm.
No, listen, I totally get it. I talk to small businesses every day, and that's something that I incorporate into my campaign because I don't want everyone to feel that I'm sort of a expert in everything. And I think sometimes elected officials act as if they're experts in everything. So what I do is I sit down with people, I have conversation. I think most importantly, Elon Musk is in a whole different world of himself. You know, he had $40 billion that he could have spent to buy Twitter. God bless him. But I think we just saw what happened the other day. We just sent $40 billion to Ukraine. While we currently have small businesses here still struggling.
Talk about it, my brother. Talk about it. Talk about it.
Post pandemic, pre and post pandemic, and I think that our priorities are in the wrong place. I think you look at New York State. We have a $256 billion budget, and we don't spend enough money on small business services or even helping small landlords or renters. So I think if we had did the right things from the beginning. Starting those programs, putting the money where they actually needed to be, we would be in a much different position than we are now. And I never want to be in a situation where we're putting small businesses against the greater good or the health of New Yorkers. But unfortunately, that's where we're at. And I think in a few weeks, if the trends continue the way that they're looking, and we continue to see the numbers rising. And I want to also make a point as well. I don't think I have it on the table with me now, but everyone is getting at-home test kits.
Mm-hmm.
So even within that 7% positivity rate, there's an additional 2,000 to 3,000 people who are also testing positive at home and who are just not reporting it to the state.
Exactly.
So we also have to take that into account as well, and something that we haven't been doing. I think what needs to happen is that there needs to be a better tracking system. If I go to a hospital, it gets tracked. If I take a test at home, there has to be a number that I could call to say, hey, my name is Jelani DeShong. I reside at blah, 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 Carroll Street. I tested positive and everyone in my house tested positive, so they could be appropriate, sort of test and trace, which is currently not happening at the moment. And that's why you're going to see the continual rise in COVID.
Yes.
I know COVID is a passion of yours in small businesses. Tell us a little bit more about, as you're campaigning in the 43rd, tell us what are other major issues that, when you worked from background level, you did your assistant secretary to Governor Hochul and working out of then council member Jumaane Williams' office. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the issues that you have identified doing both roles in the city and state level that you want to bring back to the community as if you were to be elected, and what are we not looking at that we should be addressing?
I think the biggest issues, and I think no matter, I just came from knocking on doors, something I do every night just to talk to the residents, see what's going on, and people tell you, listen, rent is becoming uncontrollable, and also people just don't feel safe leaving their house.
Too damn high, man.
Exactly, but I think most importantly is that people just don't feel safe leaving their house, not because of COVID, because of the crime that's going on right here in the city. And I go back to what John was saying earlier about New Yorkers being impatient. He's right. People want to see results right now and right now. And I think,
but I tell everybody, look at the rate in which a lot of these crimes are resolved. Anywhere between 24 to 48 hours, these suspects are being apprehended. And look at that. And that shows you the level of commitment that the police are having. They did not have that level of commitment, unfortunately, under de Blasio, but they have that commitment
because they feel respected.
And that's what it's all about. It's just like even, you talk about the whole Rikers Island situation.
Yeah.
Possibility to bring a federal monitor in, but you're not looking to those officers who say some of them are just literally afraid of some of these individuals in there.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, listen, I think also we also have to remind ourselves about this. Rikers Island just didn't get bad last year.
Not at all.
Rikers has always been bad from the moment they opened up Rikers.
When Roderick and I was on the island, it was bad.
So I think that's really the conversation that we're not having, and we don't realize. Same thing when my background is healthcare. So I spent the last 4 years working at SUNY Downstate Medical Center right here in Brooklyn. And the problem is that if you continue to ignore something, it festers. And what's been going on is that they ignore it because people who looked like them didn't end up there. It was people who looked like us who ended up there. So they didn't really care. And then when, and something I always get in trouble with this, but when some of our friends who are a little more left leaning decided this could be an issue that I could run on and gain some notoriety, then it became front page newspaper. And it became something that they could run on and gain notoriety over. But it's been going on for decades, 20, 30, 40 years. It's been a problem is that now it's become a political hot button issue that you can use to attack people, that now we want to do something about it.
I do know some of those people, including our former mayor, who used that as an issue. So you talk about the rent as one of your major concerns now. Tell us a little bit more. What else are you looking to identify in like policies that you want to put into place and things that you want to advocate for?
But Jelani, also,
go ahead.
You have to, you have a lot of homeowners.
A huge amount of homeowners.
Small landlords.
Huge amount of homeowners. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think something that what I witnessed through the special election, which was on March 22nd, we knocked on doors, we spoke to a lot of people, and a lot of homeowners and small landlords, they feel ignored because what's been going on is that everyone has been talking about tenants. And don't get me wrong, I'm a tenant. I rent for my aunt. I get it. I understand it. There's a lot of tenants out there, but we're really forgetting the people who, the homeowners, small landlords. Most of them are, single mothers, single family.
One missed mortgage payment away.
And that's it. And that's it. Yep, you're absolutely right. Paycheck. Literally, people living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people are not focused on like when Uncle Sam comes around, it's tax season, that tax bill that comes out. A lot of people aren't focused on that, and I think that's a huge issue and a lot of reason why I felt that a lot of homeowners didn't come out and vote, even not just in the special, but just universally. They don't come out and vote because they don't feel like no one's actually speaking directly.
They're not appreciated.
And they're not really appreciated. And I think that's a huge thing. So we've set up I have a part of my campaign, a homeowners club, where a lot of the homeowners who I've spoken to or my supporters, we come together every week and have conversations about different policy ideas that need to come forward to also benefit them. And I think also we need to look at home ownership. Home ownership in my block where I live on Carroll Street, 20, 30 years ago, 75% of this block was African American. And it was a thriving middle class community for young families, historic families. My aunt has owned this home for almost 40 years. And now when I walk out of the door, I don't recognize any of my neighbors. And that's not something that, I love my neighbors because we all get, if something happens, we're all together and we have to work together. But it's that sense of we want to be the face, and we want to be, especially when it comes to being Black, we want that, we own it. We want to be proud, but we also have to realize that owning a home is the pathway to generational wealth. And that's something that you could sit on and pass it to your kids and to your grandkids, and they'll continually have that. We have to spend enough time to really educate young people and new homeowners, and also older homeowners who may be thinking about selling, that no, don't sell. Pass that on to your niece or your nephew. Keep that in the family. Keep it going, because that is the only way that we're going to keep the Black middle class continually grow, especially here in Brooklyn. We've seen a 45% decrease in Black home ownership right here in central Brooklyn, I think, and it's only going to continue. A lot of people are selling their homes for penny on the dollar and then thinking that they can afford to stay in New York. No, if you sell your home in New York, sorry about that, but you're going to Florida, and that's the way it is. So you either move it to the South or you're going to Florida. A lot of people don't realize just how much wealth that they're sitting on because they get someone comes and flash them $900,000. And they think that's a lot of money, and then they try to then buy something here in New York, and they realize they can't afford to stay here in New York. So I think also, lastly, and I was getting to this point earlier, healthcare. I think healthcare is a huge issue. Healthcare access right here in Central Brooklyn, even though we do have Kings County and Kingsbrook and SUNY Downstate, the lack of investment that has historically gone into those institutions, and also the lack of services that is also going on to those hospitals have also been really shambolic. So something that I want to do is I want to open up a women's and children's hospital right here in Central Brooklyn. I have a lot of cousins and friends who are having kids, and they have to go out to Long Island. They have to go to NYU. We have just as qualified physicians and nurses and midwives and doulas right here in Brooklyn. What it really boils down to is the facilities. And that's so we need to make sure that we make a historic investment, especially when we try to address maternal mortality issues. We need to make sure that the facilities are actually reflective of the community and actually 21st century facilities right here in Brooklyn. So that's something that I ran on in the special, continue to run on. And even if I don't win in June, that's something that I'll continue to fight for every day because something I truly believe in.
You know, it's interesting you brought that up about the maternity ward, right? 4 out of 5 of my children, my first boy was born in Kings County, and then the other 4 children were born outside of Brooklyn because I got to be honest with you, John. The King and Duke, they were born at LIJ North Shore,
Right.
and I got to tell you, my wife had a suite. I had a place to stay. I enjoyed. Hey, Auntie Maureen. I got to make sure I say hello to Auntie Maureen. If I don't say Auntie Maureen, hi, Auntie Maureen. I know you're there watching. Oh, by the way, Tanya says, loving to see my kids all grown up. So
Hey, Tanya.
Officer Barry. So it is important. It makes you, it's funny because one of the comments we were doing the career day. And one of the questions I asked the kids is, when you walk in and your room is clean, how does it make you feel?
Yep.
So when you go to a maternity ward, and that woman has her privacy, she has her this, the husband or the significant other, whatever the case is, coming in and having an interaction, you feel. And even now when I'm sick and I go to the hospital, I have my own, the space makes your mind frame development is better. It's not drawn down. So I think that's a very
Great
noble and worthwhile choice and comment in that. Yeah, Dr. Bryant.
You know what? I can add to that. I actually have both of my kids at Brooklyn Hospital. And during that time, I had my own suite because my doctor was the head of OBGYN. So, of course, you get everything well when your doctor is the best of the best. So it's not equal all around, which you're right about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I saw it firsthand. Downstate, a lot of people forget Downstate was built, Downstate is over 100 years old. And the maternity ward at Downstate was built in the early 70s.
Right.
And has not seen a substantial upgrade in a long time. So that's something that if I'm, I plan to have kids someday, I would not send my wife to Downstate. And I love Downstate. And I think the doctors there are amazing, has amazing nurses that actually care and want to have the best for their patients, amazing midwifery and doula program at Downstate. When I think about the facilities at Downstate, as much as I love it, I'm just like, I don't want to put my wife through that, even though I know that she's going to get the best care. It's just the facility. Sometimes NYU doesn't provide you better care. It's just the facilities are better. And so you would go where you feel more comfortable. You have a nice flat screen TV. Your family come visit you. You guys are in the suite and you feel comfortable. We have to bring Fifth Avenue, as I call it, Fifth Avenue healthcare to Flatbush. And I want to do that, and something that I'm going to continue to champion for. Brian and him and I talk. I think this is probably the only election, I can't speak for everybody else, but I think in the 43rd, historically, has always been very contentious elections. And I think you look at myself and Brian, we've known each other for over 20 years. There's nothing but respect and admiration there. We may have differences in how we want to achieve a goal, but whatever happens on June 28th, or if they push back the election to August, I will always be here for the community, win, lose, or draw.
Okay, is that a koala? Because I have 2 things to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Roderick, is that a koala?
I don't know. Andre's on the line. Go ahead.
So one of my question is, what is your stance on mental health and also on education? So
Yeah, I
what
think-
would be your approach on that?
Yeah, I think mental health is a huge issue. I think, we've seen a drastic decrease in funding in psych beds and mental health services, either at Kings County or even at Downstate. And I think we need to do a better job. And also we have to realize that a lot of people, in our Caribbean community or even our Black community, people are very proud and they don't want to talk about what is ailing them. and you pass that generational trauma down to your kids, and
Mhm.
we keep it going. And the more you keep it inside, it takes one instant for you to explode. So we need to do more mental health services, actually going into people's homes, but also being culturally responsive, and also hiring people who know how to speak to people that look like us. And I think that's
Oh,
probably
no,
the
John,
most
I
the most
totally
important
agree.
thing.
We got a caller. Caller,
Oh,
I can't hear you, caller. Yes, caller.
Okay. It's regarding Dunk State Hospital. I'm a patient there at Dunk State Hospital, and I am in a wheelchair. I have been there. I've been there several times. I've also been able to sit on the board with patients to find out why is it not accessible for me to get into the hospital, for one thing. And second, when I go to see the doctor, there is no privacy for me because my wheelchair is unable to fit inside that room where I'm being examined. The door has to be left open. I spoke on it already. They told me that they were going to be making some improvement towards it. Okay, during that time, all my ologists is there. My gastroenterologist, my neurologist, my female doctor is there. I see most of my doctors there. And I'm not comfortable enough to stay in there to be seen with privacy.
Mm.
And this is my neighborhood. I have not seen any improvement. As far as when I enter into the hospital, during the COVID time, was very aggressive with the cleaning up. Now you come in, they sign your name, they put a thermometer on your hand, and they let you go. There's no wipe down. So there's still infection that you can get from coming into the hospital. And I need to know what you can do about it. But the most important thing is me getting into the hospital, being a patient that's in a wheelchair. What can you do for me as a patient that has to get into the hospital but unable to? The very front door, even going up the ramp is not safe because literally when the ambulance comes to take me to bring me up that ramp, it's literally like you're going up a hill. That's been in the neighborhood.
Caller, sometimes we need to bring that to you. We need to bring it to you in your home where you're at. And this is what, is lacking when it comes to healthcare, that human touch, especially those who are in wheelchairs, to give you an opportunity. Maybe we need to be mobile. Jelani, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think it's time that we think
you have to meet them where they are at.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think we're entering a time where everything.
I'm sorry, John. Let me just you're gonna answer in a second. Caller, just tell us your name so that Jelani knows who's addressing.
This is Sherry Ann Lawrence Kimball.
Sherry Ann, go ahead.
Sherry Ann. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to think bold. I think we have to think differently. I think we have to realize that healthcare is no longer just in a hospital or in a doctor's office. We could now go directly to Miss Kimball and say, hey, here are the services we provide. We're going to come directly to you. I know exactly what you're talking about. That ramp, either on the Clarkson Avenue side or the Lennox Road side, has always been a problem historically. And that ramp has been there since 1972. So I know exactly what she's talking about. She's not the only one to complain. We've seen it sort of break down and decay over the years, but she's absolutely right. And it goes right back to lack of investment that we've seen historically. And I'll get your full name from Roderick, but I definitely still have some contacts over there at Downstate that I'll be happy to connect and reach out to and advocate on your behalf.
I appreciate that. But another thing also, we have to be wary about, why can't we go into a waiting area where you can also accommodate me? It's not, entering is an issue. Waiting area is an issue. How can you expect to have 3 wheelchairs and every minute, excuse me, I cannot pass? You can go in there and literally see the size that they have. For us as a community, we are not comfortable even waiting to see the doctor.
Yeah.
And that has not been addressed. I've took it to patient relations. We were supposed to have a community with all the patients that having issues. It started and then it's just dropped.
All right.
I went as far as I also make sure I participate when it comes to my community, and I'm not seeing any results. And I'm very disappointed in that.
All right. So Sherry Ann, we're gonna have him answer that. Answer it very briefly because we are running out of time, unfortunately. And so we're gonna have him answer you a little bit, and then I'm gonna make sure that he gets your contact and so you have the opportunity, he can reach out to you directly. So I want to thank you, Sherry Ann, for calling into the village. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, John. You have about 15 seconds to answer that because we just want you to wrap up real fast.
Yeah, no, listen, I appreciate the time. I think she's absolutely right. I think you also have to realize that when Downstate was first built, it was only to accommodate 10,000 patients a year, and Downstate sees almost 500,000 patients a year. I think that's a big problem that we haven't, and it goes right back to lack of historic investment. I don't want to throw any of my previous predecessors under the bus, but we have to make sure that whoever wins this seat in June puts together an aggressive capital investment plan for SUNY Downstate Medical Center.
I love that, but sometimes you need to throw them under the bus. I just thought it. Especially if they didn't endorse you, you know. You know, but yeah, of course, I know you don't burn your bridges. I got it. You know, there are a couple of questions I still have, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go through them. And hopefully, next time we get an opportunity to speak to you prior to the June election to follow up with some of these questions. But it seems to me like you have it. You know, housing, healthcare, COVID assessment are some of the things that are very strong. And you know, not just tenant rights, but you're looking at homeowners' rights. Because those things, to me, all of those topics are vital and important. And the last one that's left out there is education. But I'm sure, you know, you did start on the fact that we did a career day today. So clearly education is very important to you. So God bless. And I want to thank you for joining us right here on the Village Radio Talk Show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time.
For those individuals who wants to reach out to Jelani, please be certain to reach out to Jelani, J-E-L-A. That's J as in Jello, E as in elephant, L-A, N as in Nancy, I-E, Deshong, D-E, D as in David, E as in Echo, Shong, S-H-O-N-G @gmail.com. And you could also just catch the recap of The Village Talk Show right here on YouTube at the Village Radio Talk Show. You can also catch us right on Facebook at John L. Sampson, Roderick F. Daly, Joanne Bryant, our executive producer, Andre Doman, our co-producer, Sophia Willis. I don't know why I'm calling you Andrea.
Big So, how you doing, Big So?
God bless each and every one of you, and happy belated Mother's Day for everybody who we missed over the weekend. And God bless. Thank you for watching, listening, viewing the Village Radio Talk Show.
Flag Day to all those
we'll see you on Friday. We'll see you Friday and Saturday at the Flatbush Central grand opening. And I'll see you online.
Come support Little Juju.
Right, come support Little Juju. Support our candidate, Jelani Deshawn, and make sure that you join us on Saturday at our mental health workshop.
And happy Flags Day for all.
And happy Haitian Flags Day. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Just inviting you out on Saturday to Haitian Flag Day. Send me an email. I'm sorry, I don't have enough time to print up the flyer, but Haitian Flag Day on Saturday. So send me an email at the Village Radio Show. The Village Show 30. To get some information. God bless. Have a good night.
God bless.
Bye.